October 1st, 2020, at BASF's Geismar facility in Louisiana, a routine maintenance situation turned into a deadly chlorine release. 4 workers were caught in the event, and one of them did not survive. What makes this case so disturbing is that it was not some freak act of nature or mysterious equipment failure. It was a chain reaction, mechanical degradation, procedural drift, and human decisions all colliding in exactly the wrong order. The release involved roughly 554 pounds of chlorine gas. That is not a minor leak. Chlorine is highly toxic, fast-moving, and unforgiving in the wrong environment. Once released, the margin for error shrinks to almost nothing. In industrial work, people sometimes get numb to hazard labels because everything sounds dangerous on paper. But this was the real thing, an immediate, life-threatening release with almost no room for improvisation. The problem started at a drain valve connection where workers believed they were dealing with a loose-bonnet connection. On the surface, it may have looked manageable. A leak, a valve, a fitting, maybe just tighten it up and move on. That's how a lot of bad jobs begin, not with obvious chaos, but with a deceptively ordinary maintenance problem that tricks people into underestimating what they are standing in front of. The valve was not simply leaking. Moisture had become trapped around the equipment, and when water and chlorine combine, the result is highly corrosive acid conditions. That matters because the hardware can look intact from a distance while the metal underneath is being eaten alive. In other words, the job was already more dangerous than it appeared before anyone put a tool on it. The bolts holding that assembly together were badly degraded by corrosion. Physically, the system was hanging on by a thread. That is one of the crueler lessons in industrial work. Equipment can look ugly and still hold, right up until the moment it doesn't. Corrosion is patient. It does not negotiate. It does not care about production pressure, and it loves to wait until someone adds force. This slide gets to the cultural heart of the incident. Concerns were raised, but the stop work authority that should have frozen the job did not hold. Somewhere between the warning signs and the work continuing, the system failed its people. A stop work program is only real if it survives friction, schedule pressure, hierarchy, ego, and that old industrial poison called, "let's just get it done." Then came the turning point. A pneumatic impact wrench was used on badly corroded fasteners. That is the mechanical equivalent of kicking a rotten door and acting surprised when the whole frame comes down. High torque and vibration on compromised hardware is a terrible gamble. The moment that wrench was applied, the workers were no longer testing a theory. They were loading a failed system. The vibration from the tool appears to have caused the valve bonnet or associated assembly to fail, and once that happened, the chlorine release escalated immediately. This is where incident timelines collapse. You can spend minutes, even hours, drifting toward danger, and then cross the line in half a second. That's why mechanical integrity and tool choice matter so much. By the time the hardware lets go, the discussion is over. As the release occurred, workers attempted to escape, but the emergency breathing air arrangement became its own problem. Airlines had to be disconnected from the fixed supply so they could flee. That transition, going from stationary protection to mobile survival, is exactly the kind of step that has to be second nature, because when toxic gas is in the air, you do not rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of training. One worker had an escape bottle available, but it was not activated during the evacuation. That detail is heartbreaking because it shows how incidents do not just test equipment, they test human performance under stress. In a calm room, everyone knows what to do. In a cloud of toxic gas, with adrenaline spiking and seconds disappearing, even simple actions can fail if the training has not been burned in deep enough. When the emergency air supply failed, respiratory protection stopped functioning the way it was supposed to. That left the worker exposed directly to chlorine. And that is the brutal truth of life-saving gear. It is not enough for it to exist. It has to be understood, reachable, activated correctly, and usable under panic conditions. Otherwise, it becomes a prop in the world's worst play. This incident can be distilled into 3 interacting failures. First, mechanical integrity failed. The corrosion had already compromised the valve assembly. Second, communication and decision-making failed. Warnings and stop-work signals did not stop the task. Third, emergency response failed at the point of personal survival. Escape procedures and breathing equipment did not protect the worker when it mattered most. None of these failures had to happen alone. Together, they were lethal. One of the most important lessons here is simple enough to fit on a hard hat sticker. If the job feels wrong, stop. Not because feelings are magic, but because experienced workers notice patterns before they can always explain them. Corrosion, mismatch between permit and conditions, odd workarounds, pressure to proceed. Those are not background noise. That is the system trying to tell you the job has changed. Emergency equipment has to be more than assigned. It has to be drilled, rehearsed, and muscle memory familiar. Workers should not be figuring out bailout gear in the middle of a release. They should know exactly where it is, how it activates, what failure modes it has, and how long it buys them. In high-hazard operations, survival should never depend on reading instructions during the emergency. The final takeaway is not complicated, but industry keeps relearning it the hard way. Check the integrity before you touch the hardware. Speak up when the conditions don't match the plan. And know your emergency gear like your life depends on it, because sometimes it does. Procedures can feel slow, inspections can feel annoying, and stop work can feel inconvenient. Funeral arrangements are worse. The goal is not to look tough. The goal is to go home.